In the state of Western Qin Palace, the wedding commences urgently as someone calls for the groom. Attendees express concern about the prince missing this auspicious moment. The priest instructs the first bow to heaven and earth, and Chu Tianyu, who is unconscious, is assisted by two maids. As Tianyu regains consciousness, he bewilderedly realizes he's getting married. The priest then directs the second bow to the elders. Upon opening his eyes, he's shocked by the sight before him. The priest instructs the bride and groom to bow, revealing West Qin Princess Ji Ruan standing in front of Tianyu. Staring at her, he incredulously thinks, "Is this my bride?" To his surprise, Princess Ji Ruan is also unconscious, just like him. Mesmerized by her beauty, Tianyu gets a nosebleed and cheekily contemplates the next step. He hears the priest conclude with a rather unconventional statement, "Enter the coffin and be buried in matrimony." Shocked, Tianyu coughs up blood, regaining full consciousness, and reacts with a loud and angry outburst upon hearing the priest's suggestion of a posthumous marriage. Expressing disbelief and frustration, he vehemently rejects the idea, cursing and expressing his disapproval. In response, the terrified maids, fearing he is a ghost or zombie, scream and flee. Left without their support, Tianyu collapses to the ground in pain, expressing his discomfort. Surprised to feel pain, he realizes it's not a dream but reality. He looks around in shock, wondering if he has been transported to another world. Pondering the low-class man's style, he questions the era to which this ice guy belongs and marvels at the unexpected turn of events, contemplating if such a fortunate occurrence could happen to someone as ordinary as him. Experiencing sudden pain, Tianyu holds his head and realizes he's accessing the memories of the original owner of this body. The original Chu Tianyu is the youngest son of General Chu Yanhong in the Western Qin state. Raised by General Chu's legitimate wife, Morang Jianghua, he enjoyed favoritism and a comfortable life. However, lacking martial arts talent, he indulged in a life of wine and womanizing, earning a notorious reputation. Despite his strong backing, he eventually died of an unknown disease not long ago. Tianyu grapples with the revelation of his new identity. Recalling the memories, he coughs up blood and expresses frustration at being reborn into the life of the original owner. He criticizes the evident problems with his stepmother and laments the weakness of his new body, foreseeing its limited lifespan. In a moment of desperation, he exclaims, "Save me." The panicked maids rush to the empress, claiming that General Chu's youngest son has turned into a zombie. Tianyu's stepmother, Morang Jianghua, dismisses it as nonsense, asserting the empress's presence. Empress Xiaoan, standing beside her, questions the maid's audacity. One maid insists, pointing at the wedding mansion and pleading for mercy, stating that young Master Chu has become a zombie or perhaps been revived. Tianyu's stepmother instructs her niece, Morang, to assess the situation. With a dark expression, she approaches Morang and whispers a sinister instruction to ensure that Chu Tianyu cannot be left alive. Morang, accepting the command, reassures her aunt. As Morang heads towards Tianyu, he recognizes her and expresses fear. Morang enters the room with a noticeable killing intent, causing Tianyu to panic, wondering if she's there to assassinate him. Despite not being as strong as Morang Jianghua, Morang is still at the 6th stage of body tempering. Morang, with a dark expression, addresses Tianyu, noticing his profuse sweating, and offers to check on him. However, her intention takes a sinister turn as she holds his hand and uses her power on him. Tianyu experiences severe bleeding from his eyes, nose, and mouth, suffering under Morang's power. Desperate and in pain, he calls out for a system, believing otherworlders should have won. As the air current drills into his mind, he fears for his life. In his moment of desperation, the system appears and alerts Tianyu, detecting mortal danger to the host and activating the dream scripture system. Tianyu starts to observe energy from the moon and absorbs more and more of it. The system then notifies him, gifting him a new gift pack and skill X-ray vision, and also one gotcha pull. The words appear in front of Tianyu's eyes, and he looks at them with surprise, thinking, dream scripture system? How does this work? What abilities does it have? As he examines the notifications, his surprise grows. With the newly acquired X-ray vision, Tianyu looks at Morang and is surprised to see through her clothes. He marvels at the ability, thinking, X-ray vision. As he examines Morang's body using this newfound power, Tianyu experiences a nosebleed. He observes her blood vessels, bones, meridians, and even unspeakable places, along with the unique auras of a martial artist represented by flames around the body. Jianyu notes that the intensity of these flame auras correlates with the strength of the person's life force. In a fit of anger, Morang, gritting her teeth, glares at Jianyu, questioning how he could still be alive. As she lifts him up by his collar, Jianyu, attempting to reassure her, exclaims, "Don't move around, I can see everything clearly." However, in an unexpected turn of events, Jianyu falls on top of Morang, inadvertently touching her breast. Feeling trapped, he struggles to react, realizing Morang's strength. Morang, loudly screaming, yells, "Let go of me, you disgusting scoundrel." In a moment of panic, Jianyu realizes his mistake, muttering, "This isn't good." Just then, Jianyu's stepmother enters the room, inquiring about the disturbance. Morang swiftly adopts an innocent expression, shedding a few tears, and explains, "Your Highness, Aunt, I was merely checking on young master's well-being. I had no idea he would try to take advantage of me." Onlookers gather, and one man comments, "I've long heard that Chu Tianyu was a playboy, but who knew he'd have the audacity to do such a thing in broad daylight?" Another man adds, "He just married the princess a moment ago, and now he is harassing other women. What an insult to the royal family." The imperial doctor insists, "Your Highness, the reputation of the royal family cannot be tarnished. This kind of scoundrel does not deserve to be a prince and must be severely punished." Realizing the severity of the situation, Jianyu, though scared, determines to remain composed. He acknowledges the challenge of redeeming the original owner's tarnished reputation. Meanwhile, his stepmother, kneeling before the empress, takes a cunning approach, expressing regret for her son's actions and subtly suggesting impartial judgment. She slyly adds, "May your highness act fairly. I, Jianghua, will not raise the slightest complaint." The stepmother navigates the delicate scenario with calculated words. Faced with the dire consequences of his stepmother's actions, Jianyu realizes the gravity of the situation. The empress, disgusted, orders the guards to execute him. Angered and determined, Jianyu clenches his teeth, seeking aid from his system and demanding his lucky draw. The system responds, revealing the acquisition of the skill life and death reversal acupuncture, capable of presiding over life and death. Once again, Jianyu absorbs energy from the moon, assimilating the knowledge into his mind. In a desperate moment, Jianyu curses his fate, questioning why he couldn't have acquired a skill to alter the situation. His gaze shifts to Ji Ruin's lifeless body in the coffin, where he notices a faint aura. Realization dawns as he discerns the princess still has a weak qi, she isn't dead. Fueled by desperation, he passionately declares, "Your Highness, I can revive the princess." The empress, eyes filled with hope, responds, "You can bring her back." Undeterred, Jianyu confidently insists, "Provide me with acupuncture needles, and I can revive the princess by targeting her critical meridian points with my unique skill." Imperial Dr. Lu Chongqing vehemently protests, dismissing Jianyu's claim as nonsense and expressing disbelief. In decades of practice, he warns the empress not to heed Jianyu's words, accusing him of scheming on the princess's body and tarnishing her honor with baseless ideas. Jianyu's stepmother pleads with him to stop, dismissing his actions as nonsense. The imperial doctor, adamant, denounces the treatment as witchcraft, questioning its validity. Jianyu, maintaining a serious demeanor, defends the ancient acupuncture skill, challenging the imperial doctor's skepticism with conviction. He criticizes the doctor's ignorance and questions the worthiness of his imperial appointment. The doctor, grinning, counters, emphasizing the sanctity of the princess's body and the seriousness of matters concerning human lives. The empress, seething with anger, emanates a powerful aura and commands silence from everyone. With a menacing tone, she declares that she doesn't care about the truth, offering one chance to revive the princess. If successful, she promises to celebrate the marriage joyously. However, failure would result in severe punishment and torture until death. In a tense moment, Jianyu, wearing a grim expression, contemplates to save her and live, fail and die. "I don't have a choice, do I?" Concerned advisors plead with the empress to calm her anger. The empress delicately places Princess Ji Ruin on the bed. After her removal from the coffin, acknowledging the urgency, Tianyu emphasizes the need to undress the princess. The empress, concerned, permits Tianyu to concentrate on treating the princess while she waits outside. As she departs, Tianyu bows, recognizing her decisive and far-sighted approach. Reflecting on the situation, he appreciates her leadership. Turning to Princess Ji Ruin, he prepares to administer treatment, undressing her and holding an acupuncture needle with a determined focus. Everyone remains outside while Tianu tends to Princess Ji Ruin. The imperial doctor raises concerns about Tianu's notorious playboy reputation, speculating that he might be taking advantage of the princess rather than treating her earnestly. This sentiment gains support from others, asserting a lack of trust in Tianu's actions. Morang, adopting a cunning expression, expresses skepticism about Chu Tianu's ability to save the princess despite lacking skills, predicting his imminent demise. Tianu's stepmother acknowledges that even without their interference, the empress is likely to take action. "Let's wait and see the show," she says. Tianu, appearing fatigued, reports to the empress that he has successfully revived the princess. Morang and his stepmother's faces fill with mixed feelings in response to Chu Tianu's words. Tianu invites everyone to enter and witness the princess's condition. As onlookers enter, the imperial doctor, holding Princess Ji Ruin's hand, asserts that Chu Tianu lacks medical skills, accusing him of failing to revive the princess and defiling her corpse. The gathered crowd reacts strongly, condemning Chu Tianu for alleged attempted rape, deceiving the empress, and desecrating the princess's remains. Calls for his immediate execution intensify among the onlookers. Frustrated with the derogatory comments, Tianu loudly retorts, "You bunch of quack doctors and your nonsense." Tianu removes the acupuncture needle from Princess Ji Ruin's forehead, and immediately, she coughs up blood. The empress, witnessing the unexpected turn of events, experiences a mix of joy and concern as she calls out to the revived princess. The imperial doctor, faced with the unexpected result, becomes pale and silent, reluctantly acknowledging that Chu Tianu was indeed telling the truth. Tianu clarifies that he used a needle to seal Princess Ji Ruin's soul corridor, allowing the gradual expulsion of the remaining poison. He predicts her awakening within 3 days. The empress, visibly shaken, holds Princess Ji Ruin in her arms, relieved by the prospect of her eventual recovery. Tianu, with a stern gaze, criticizes the imperial doctor for misdiagnosing the cause of the princess's death and failing to recognize her regained consciousness, potentially hindering her recovery. The imperial doctor, frightened, denies any wrongdoing, expressing anger. Tianu points at the imperial doctor, questioning his earlier noise-making and suggesting he retire early to avoid obstructing the princess's treatment. Tianu questions the doctor's continued presence and usefulness. In response, the imperial doctor, still trembling, claims to have been wronged and pleads with the empress. The empress, maintaining her composure, declares that the princess's revival is a reason for joy. She affirms that Chu Tianu's status as the princess's consort, established through completed marriage ceremonies, will remain unchanged. However, acknowledging the youth of the newlyweds, she decides to defer the final marriage rites by 3 years. Chu Tianu is now granted residence in the palace with the princess. Upon hearing the empress's words, a sense of relief sweeps through the scene. Tianu turns away, and Morang, filled with hatred, emanates a killing aura toward him. From her vantage point behind Tianu, Morang wears a dark expression and grits her teeth, contemplating the mystery of how Chu Tianu, seemingly lacking skills, managed to revive the princess. She speculates that it might be some legendary skill and attributes his success to unfortunate luck. Unexpectedly, Tianu's stepmother abruptly kneels before the empress. She starts showing her great acting skills, explaining that Chu Tianu, due to his frailty since youth, should not burden the palace. She then requests the empress's permission to have her servants attend to his every need. The empress, initially surprised, adjusts to the situation. Tianu's stepmother makes a formal plea, stating, "I request your highness to allow me to have my servants follow and attend to him in his every need." In response, Tianu's stepmother adopts a sly and concerned demeanor, suggesting the need for military personnel to accompany him. She expresses worry that Chu Tianu might instigate trouble again, emphasizing the importance of supervision. The empress observes Tianu's visible annoyance. He grins with determination, reflecting on his stepmother's apparent attempts to undermine him. Despite this, Tianu believes that his new role as consort gives the empress reason to reject his stepmother's requests aimed at harming him. The empress declares the matter simple and approves their request. Tianu, upon hearing this unexpected approval, reacts with surprise. Morang and Tianu's stepmother, with smiles on their faces, bow and express gratitude, addressing the empress as "Your Highness." From that moment, Chu Tianu recognizes that he was denied the chance to live right from the beginning. Tianu, with a determined gaze, concludes internally, ultimately, I still have to rely on myself. By command of Her Majesty, everyone is instructed to leave except for the consort. Tianu, breathing heavily, takes a seat with his head bowed. The Empress inquires about his well-being, to which Tianu, bowing, reassures her. He expresses regret over his inability to save the princess. The Empress, surprised, prompts him to explain further. Tianu clarifies that the princess is still in peril, but as long as he can continue the acupuncture treatment, there remains hope for her. The Empress, visibly distressed and tearful over the princess's well-being, earnestly questions Tianu about the continuation of the princess's treatment. Tianu, grappling with exhaustion, discloses that he has already administered today's treatment and that they must wait until the next session tomorrow. He further reveals the toll on his well-being, expressing mental fatigue and weakened physical state, admitting uncertainty about his ability to handle the acupuncture procedure due to his current condition. Realizing the need for more time and considering the princess as his only hope of survival, Tianu strategically omits a crucial part of the treatment. Responding to the unfolding circumstances, the Empress instructs Morang to escort Tianu to the next court for recuperation. She emphasizes the importance of Tianu's well-being and the crucial role he plays in the princess's treatment, pledging to enlist the expertise of the best doctors for his care. Tianu lies on the bed. An imperial doctor conducts a pulse check, revealing a dire situation characterized by significant blood and qi loss coupled with organ failure. Morang, expressing concern, inquires about a potential cure, prompting the imperial doctor to admit that he lacks the necessary means and that ordinary treatments are ineffective. Strangely, upon hearing this, Morang seems oddly satisfied with Tianu's impending demise. The Empress, seeking alternatives, asks about extraordinary treatments. The Empress, seeking alternatives, asks about extraordinary treatments. The imperial doctor mentions the possibility of the Great Reverend being able to help, but he is currently on an uncontactable journey for a few months. Faced with the limitations of medical intervention, the doctor resigns to leaving the consort's fate to nature. However, he suggests a slim chance of prolonging Tianu's life by a few more days if a spirit practitioner can replenish some of his spirit force. Upon hearing the doctor's words, the Empress contemplates the rarity of spirit practitioners compared to martial artists, questioning the ease of finding one. She ponders why Chu Tianu, of all people, possesses the means to save Siner. The Empress further wonders why Tianu cannot utilize his revival acupuncture skills on himself. Deciding to provide Tianu with some privacy, the Empress orders everyone to leave, allowing the consort to rest. Tianu opens his eyes and calls upon the system for a checkup. The system promptly appears, instructing him to stay still during the scan. The results reveal Tianu's weakened state, with an estimated remaining life of 7 days, 21 hours, 13 minutes, and 15 seconds. In response to this shocking revelation, Tianu expresses his dismay, exclaiming, "What in the world? I only have 7 days left." The system notifies Tianu that it has gathered 4 methods to prolong his lifespan, offering him the opportunity to exchange 5 days of lifespan for a chance to obtain one of these methods. Tianu, recognizing the insignificance of an extra 5 days given his limited time, decides to proceed, stating, "Anyway, I only have 7 days left. Having an extra 5 days or 5 less isn't any different. Only a fool would choose no." Due to an input error, the system mistakenly informs Tianu that he chose no, and will not exchange 5 days of lifespan for a chance to extend his life. The system concludes with a wish for his well-being and luck. Seeing the system panel mistakenly interpret his yes as a no, Tianu expresses frustration, exclaiming, "What the heck?" Voice activation. "This isn't smart at all. I clearly selected yes." In response, the system notifies him that changing the selection requires an additional 2 days of lifespan for exchange and asks if he wishes to proceed. Undeterred by his dwindling time, Tianu asserts, "Affirmative. I only have half a day of life left anyway. As long as I can extend my lifespan, there isn't anything else to be afraid of." He proceeds by clicking yes on the notification panel. The system notifies Tianu that he has exchanged 2 days of lifespan and instructs him to carefully choose a life-extending method. Tianu, examining the available options on the system panel, wonders if the system is playing a joke on him, concluding that the only viable choice seems to be D. The life-extending method choices are outlined as follows: change your fate, lose your sanity, castrate yourself, and walk the path of the Buddha. B. Reverse your destiny, top up 10 billion currency, and live for thousands of years. C. Strive to be a hobo, give up all resistance, give up the system, and rot for 100 years. D. Fight to be king, work hard, dream big, and eventually become a god. Upon choosing option D, the system congratulates Tianu for selecting the life extension option of 0.5 days, leaving him with a remaining lifespan of 12 hours, 2 minutes, and 38 seconds. It instructs him to close his eyes, relax his body, and receive the system rewards. Tianu complies. The system then welcomes him to his first entry into the dream domain. As Tianu opens his eyes, the system notifies him of initial scans indicating his abilities are subpar, particularly in the aspect of planting spirit seedlings. Despite this, the system expresses well wishes for Tianu's success in cultivation and a swift progression toward attaining godhood. Tianu, surrounded by an aura, questions if entering a dream state enhances his cultivation. The system affirms this. Intrigued by spirit seedlings, he learns they are rare and grant superior cultivation abilities. The hierarchy includes Spirit Grandmaster, Spirit Master, Spirit Expert, Spirit Practitioner, and Common Man, each with 9 sublevels. A martial artist body tempering 9th stage is equivalent to a 9th rank Spirit Practitioner. To reach the 1st rank of Spirit Practitioner and gain an extra year of lifespan, Tianu must accumulate 100 Spirit Force. Tianu reacts with happiness upon processing information from the system, manifesting his joy through laughter and a clenched fist. He contemplates, this is great, who would have thought work hard meant working hard to sleep? Getting stronger by just lying there, system, I love you. He envisions a future where achieving Spirit Practitioner status will render him fearless in the presence of Morang. This introspection is interrupted as Morang enters Tianu's room. Morang advances toward Tianu, exhibiting a dark aura, prompting the system to warn of a perceived threat and advising Tianu to wake up. Disregarding the alert, Morang acknowledges Tianu's adeptness at pretending to sleep. Tianu, abruptly waking up, loudly reprimands Morang for disturbing his sleep, humorously suggesting potential bad luck in the form of being cursed with an airport runway. As Tianu inadvertently finds himself in close proximity to Morang's chest, he blushes and gazes intensely. Morang, displaying a dark expression, questions the reference to an airport runway. Tianu, with a nosebleed and fixated on her breasts, humorously contemplates that she's probably not destined to become an airport runway in this lifetime. Upon regaining composure, Tianu asserts to Morang that he is unwell and requests her to leave the room. Morang justifies her presence by stating Madame's instructions to watch over him, emphasizing the need for additional care due to his condition. Tianu, evaluating the situation, realizes the importance of finding a solution to remove her presence to ensure an undisturbed environment for both sleep and cultivation. Tianu, wearing a smile, requests Morang to return to his residence for a change of clothes and some pocket money. He suggests involving Ku and Dongyu for additional care, aiming to relieve Morang of the sole responsibility. Morang responds by revealing that Madame, dissatisfied with their care after Tianu's apparent demise, sold Ku and Dongyu to a merchant. Upon discovering the sale of his cherished twin maids, Tianu reacts with a vehement exclamation, expressing disbelief and shock. His thoughts convey a deep sense of sorrow for his adorable twins, drawing from the original host's memories of maids Ku and Dongyu, who had served faithfully for 5 years, describing them as extremely loyal and caring. Reflecting on the sale of his twin maids, Tianu expresses deep anguish. His face pales as he contemplates this loss, the intent of murdering not something that can be hidden. Tianu, thinking he has come back to life, urges Morang to quickly buy back the twin maid. Morang arrogantly responds that they have already been sold, pointing out the impracticality of buying them back. Maids don't get to decide their fate. In a cynical tone, Morang suggests it might be better for Tianu to have her as a servant since he's going to die soon. Tianu, looking at Morang sadly, agrees, expressing regret at the unfortunate situation. Tianu, revealing his hand, acknowledges the weakness of his body and expresses concern about potential consequences, particularly angering the Empress if he can't hold a needle. Internally, he resents looking down on me inappropriately. Tiana gets close to Morang, making an unwarranted advance by touching her breasts and suggesting she warms up his bed. Angered, Morang gets really mad and shouts, "What are you doing? Get your hands off." Following Morang's protest, Tiana removes his hands from her breasts and forcefully pushes her onto his bed. "Stepmom sent you to the palace to take care of me, so you are my maid servant now. We are both outsiders in the palace, we can only rely on each other going forward." Expressing both embarrassment and anger, Morang loudly declares, "Don't think that just because we are in the palace I won't dare to teach you a lesson. This authority was given to me by Madam." Tianu, using an X-ray vision he finds unpleasant, looks at Morang's body from behind. He then spanks her forcefully, challenging her to hit him back. Tianu emphasizes his weak body, suggesting that if she harms him and the princess isn't saved, she'll definitely not have a good end. Morang gets angry and charges at Tianu, warning him he's courting death. Despite her threatening approach, Tianu remains calm and challenges her to touch him. Surprisingly, Morang backs off and Tianu laughs at her, taking advantage. Tianu grabs her hands and slaps her, telling her she has no right to touch him and should know her place. Morang, feeling upset with a crying face, tells herself to stay calm and not fight with Tianu. She reminds herself of the mission's priority, considering Tianu has only 7 days left to live. Deciding to endure the situation for a short while, she leaves the room, warning Tianu to stay put while she collects his things from the general's mansion. In her mind, she acknowledges the need to avoid staying longer, fearing she might lose control and kill Tianu. Tianu asks Morang, "Morang, I love your body. You must sleep with me tonight." Morang responds with a strong objection. Tianu, smiling, is relieved, thinking she shouldn't return anytime soon. His hand is visibly swollen from hitting Morang's backside earlier. With a smile, Tianu acknowledges having some time to himself. Settling into bed, he enters a dream world to spiritually cultivate, aware of his limited remaining lifespan. In this focused state, Tianu aims to become a spirit practitioner, setting a goal to accumulate 100 spirit force in his spirit core before time runs out. Morang informs her aunt that Dr. Sun confirmed Chu Tianu will not survive beyond 7 days unless the Great Reverend intervenes. Tianu's stepmother reveals her initial plan for a posthumous marriage to elevate the family status. Despite the unforeseen circumstances, she expresses confidence that Tianu has only a few days left. She must keep an eye on Tianu. Morang acknowledges her responsibilities, assuring her aunt that she understands the situation. Morang tells about Tianu's wish to have her bring back Ku and Dongyu. Tianu's stepmother dismisses it, saying to ignore him due to his imminent death. Morang hints at possible persistence from Tianu. The stepmother questions if Tianu forced himself on Morang, to which she denies. The stepmother instructs Morang to endure a few more days, and if Tianu survives past 7 days, she is to personally execute him. Tianu diligently cultivates, forming a cultivation aura at his abdomen. Upon successfully ascending to the spirit practitioner realm, he joyfully opens his eyes. The system congratulates him, extending his lifespan by 1 year. Smiling, Tianu reflects on the surprising speed of his progress, envisioning a future. In his current state, while asleep, Tianu realizes the significance of reaching the 6th stage as a spirit practitioner. However, when he tries to cultivate, he struggles to condense spirit force. The system advises him to charge up his meridians and open all 720 acupoints in his body to build a strong foundation. Tianu acknowledges the system's advice and agrees to charge his meridians accordingly. Tianu wakes up and realizes his progress is too slow, with only 1 acupoint opened in the past hour. He calculates it will take at least 3 years to open all his meridians at this rate. Concerned about the time constraints, he considers seeking help for his plan to assassinate Morang. As he is deep in thought, Morang enters Tianu's room, throwing the items he requested at him. Tianu checks his belongings and notices the money is missing. Angrily, he questions Morang, who retorts that he doesn't need money since he's about to die. Frustrated, Tianu activates his X-ray vision to inspect Morang and discovers she has stolen his beautiful jade pendant, concealing it under her clothes. Realizing his money isn't essential, Tianu demands the return of his stolen jade pendant. Taking swift action, Tianu retrieves the hidden pendant from under Morang's clothes. Displaying the pendant with a cold expression, Tianu accuses her of embezzling his prized possession. Morang, with mixed emotions, questions how he uncovered her secret. Morang is gathering Tianu's belongings. She informs Tianu's stepmother that Tianu requested money, dismisses the request, citing the considerable expenses for Tan Ming's cultivation, and suggests keeping the jade piece as a gift for him. He plans to sell the remaining items to fund Tan Ming's cultivation. Learning about Tan Ming's return next month, Morang blushes with happiness and expresses excitement. Tianu's stepmother informs Morang that Tian Ming has reached the spirit expert realm and expresses her desire to formalize Morang's marriage once Tianu has passed away. Blushing, Morang defers the decision to her aunt and leaves. Currently, Morang has been caught stealing Tianu's jade pendant. Kneeling in front of him and covering herself, she receives a warning from Tianu, who decides to let her off this time. Tianu, aware of the sensitivity of the situation, avoids pushing Morang too far to prevent any drastic reactions. Capital's Yashin Street. As Tianu walks around, people recognize him as the feared Chu Tianu, causing them to flee. When Morang questions his presence, Tianu explains that he is searching for missing bed warmers. Morang points out Tianu's consistent behavior, cautioning him about angering the Empress and facing potential beheading. Aware of his limited time, Tianu expresses a carefree attitude, suggesting Morang warm his bed for the night. Angered, Morang rejects the idea, and Tianu playfully responds about a plum blossom being eternal and remaining romantic even as a ghost. Tianu encounters a merchant named Big Mouth Lu, who is happy to see him alive. Recognizing him, Tianu decides to seek his assistance. Big Mouth Lu offers to be his guide. Tianu inquires about his two maidservants, Chiu and Dongyu, and asks if Big Mouth Lu knows which merchant bought them. This revelation surprises Morang. Merchant Lu points out that Chiu and Dongyu are currently being auctioned at Minion Pavilion, mentioning the participation of sons from aristocratic families and Boss Ching. Eager to act, Tianu hands money to Merchant Lu and instructs him to take him to Minion Pavilion immediately. Delighted by the payment, Merchant Lu agrees and leads the way. Merchant Lu guides Tianu to the auction pavilion where the auctioneer introduces the twins, Chiu and Dongyu. The twins, looking solemn, stand in the auction spotlight. The auctioneer highlights their background, having been trained under the general's mansion. Described as young, budding, and beautiful, they demonstrate proficiency in martial arts at the second stage body tempering realm, along with talents in music, painting, and calligraphy. A man, reacting to the auctioneer's words, questions the audacity of selling individuals who serve Chu Tianu, expressing concern that they might be tainted. The auctioneer counters by revealing that Tianu is impotent and assures that the twins, Chiu and Dongyu, are still virgins. This revelation surprises the questioning man, leading to a change in his perception. The auctioneer, keen on upholding Minion Pavilion's reputation, assures attendees that they would be generously compensated if any misinformation is discovered. Attendees show interest in the twins, expressing opinions on Chu Tianu's perceived weaknesses and frustrations with his royal consort status. Speculations arise about Tianu's potential role as a pawn, with some anticipating the princess's quick response when he becomes less useful. Infuriated by the insults, Tianu angrily slams the bench, resenting accusations of impotence. An impatient man initiates the auction, highlighting the desirability of the twins even for Chu Tianu. The auctioneer begins the bidding at $3,000, emphasizing that the twins are only available as a pair during the auction. The initial bid is set at $3,000 by the first participant. The second bidder raises the stakes with a bid of $3,200. A third participant outbids the previous bid, offering $3,500. The fourth contender enters with a bid of $3,800. Another bidder joins, contributing a bid of $4,000. Amid the competitive atmosphere, Tianu visibly expresses frustration by clenching his fists. Simultaneously, Morang smirks confidently, estimating that the jade is likely worth no more than $3,500. She eagerly awaits to see how Tianu plans to secure victory in the auction. Merchant Lu reveals a starting price of 3,500 silvers for the twins, prompting Tianu to exclaim that he originally bought them for 6,000. Morang, observing with a smirk, doubts Tianu's qualifications for the auction and anticipates his maids being sold to someone else. Tianu's face darkens as he worries about the fate of his twin maids. The auctioneer calls out 4,000 silvers. A boy boldly bids 4,100, triggering a middle-aged man's frustration as he counters with 4,200 silvers. Tianu, observing the scene with a cold face, assesses the wealthy attendees, realizing there might be a way out of his dilemma. Amidst the bids, a beautiful woman identified as the lady boss of Flower Shower Pavilion, Shang Guan, offers 4,500 silvers. The crowd falls silent, captivated by her beauty. A blushing man reveals her identity, expressing surprise at her interest in the two virgins. One person agrees that with good training, the twin virgins could become top courtesans and become more valuable. Another person points out that despite being born in a brothel, Shang Guan, who has talent, is well qualified to teach the twin virgins. Annoyed by the situation, Tianu decides to do something about it. He tells everyone that as long as he, Chu Tianu, is there, nobody can take the girls home that day. Seeing Tianu, Chiu, and Dong Yu brings both happiness and tears. The auctioneer accuses Chu Tianu of scheming and implies he might be using his role as a royal consort for an advantage. Mentioning the incomplete marriage ceremony, the auctioneer emphasizes the importance of money in their dealings and is open to exchanges if the value is right. Tianu, frustrated, suggests using Morang as collateral. Morang, upset and holding Tianu's hand, questions why he values the two maids more than her. Tianu, angrily rejecting Morang's touch, declares that nobody can touch his belongings. He warns that anyone trying to stop him will be considered an enemy, emphasizing the consequences. Morang, with mixed emotions, challenges Tianu and internally admits she may not endure this much longer. People at the auction are surprised by Tianu's boldness, with someone noting that Tianu seems willing to trade two maids for Morang, highlighting the importance of money in the situation. Shang Guan, recognizing Tianu as a regular customer at the Flower Shower Pavilion, decides to give up the auction for the two girls since Chu Tianu wants them. Tianu smiles at her decision. Shang Guan recalls hearing about Tanu's potential marriage with the princess, realizing it might be true now that Tianu is the royal consort. She decides not to offend him. One guy warns that challenging Chu Tianu never ends well, citing a history of unfavorable outcomes. Another, a bald man, agrees, noting they might have forgotten this fact after hearing rumors of Tanu's death. They both suggest waiting to see how things play out. Tianu, smiling lightly, understands that using his status alone won't be enough. He aims to remind them of the fear they had for the previous owner of his body, believing that if one person steps back, the others will follow. Having dealt with those less determined, his next task is sorting out the money and payments. Li Shanong, the interior minister's son, boldly bids 5,500 silvers, stating he's not afraid. Upon hearing Lu Xianchang's voice, Tianu happily goes to his room, planning to use him for financial matters. Lu Xianchang, addressing Tianu, challenges him, emphasizing his determination to outdo him. Tianu, smiling playfully, responds by teasing Lu Shanong for his daring attitude, referring to him as forever second place. Tianu, maintaining a composed demeanor, accuses Lu Xianchang of always trying to join exciting events after they've ended and never admitting defeat, comparing him to a parasite. Lu Xianchang responds angrily, denying being present when Tianu faced trouble. Tianu proposes continuing their bet with the same rules. If Lu Shanong wins, he gets the title of the #1 playboy of the capital. Lu Xian, annoyed, dismisses the idea of competing for the title and asks about the betting terms. Tianu, upon hearing Lu Shuanan, smiles and proposes to the auctioneer that they have a competition for the title of the #1 playboy before continuing the auction. The auctioneer laughs, supporting the idea, saying that both Tianu and Lu Shanong adding excitement to the auction would be good, and the Minion Pavilion is supportive. One person excitedly announces, "We're in for an exciting match. Chu Tianu and Lu Xianchang are facing each other for the first time today." Another asserts Lu Xianchang has proven himself through many challenges while Chu Tianu relies on his family. A third person notes that Chu Tianu is hypocritical for criticizing others when he's not doing well himself. The bald man wants Lu Xianchang to teach Chu Tianu a lesson. Lu Xianchang suggests they settle things with a poetry contest, praising Miss Guan's talent. Shang Guan agrees to the idea. Chu Tianu dislikes the idea, thinking poetry is not for playboys like them. Lu Xian denies being a playboy, wanting to win the contest, and asks for the competition theme. Chu Tianu confesses to a lack of training and claims his sole unique skill developed from being around beautiful women. When Lu Shanong questions this skill, Tianu confidently asserts that he can accurately determine a woman's 3 measurements with just one look. The twin maids observing Tianu are impressed and consider it an amazing and unique talent possessed by their master. Lu Xianchang laughs at Chu Tianu's claim of a unique skill and says he has had the same skill since he was 8. He agrees to the challenge and adds a condition: if Tiana wins, he gets all of Lu Xianchang's money; if Tiana loses, he has to act like a dog around Lu Xianchang. Shang Guan finds the situation interesting and offers help from the flower shower pavilion. Shang Guan's maids line up, and she offers them for the competition. Chu Tianu, examining a maid in a red dress, expresses admiration for her perfect body, confidently stating her 3 measurements as 90-60-90. The red dress maid confirms Tiana's accuracy, saying that Master Chu is absolutely right. Lu Shanong provides the measurements for a maid in a blue dress as 92-64-93, and she confirms his accuracy. The competition intensifies between Lu Xianchang and Chu Tianu. Tianu, evaluating a lady in white, states her measurements as 94-58-91. Lu Xianchang, focusing on a lady in green, declares her measurements as 96-62-95. Tianu points out an error, insisting that the lady in green is not 96 but 94. Lu Shanong disputes this, asserting that the white dress's 94 cm bust is smaller than the green dress, questioning Tianu's conclusion. A man laughs, agreeing that the lady in green is more busty than the one in white, questioning how they could have the same measurements. Another man suggests that Chu Tianu might be intentionally causing trouble, anticipating his loss in the competition. A third man dismisses Tianu, calling him trash and claiming that as a virgin, he cannot accurately evaluate someone's proportion. Chu Tianu, approaching the lady in green, points to her breasts and accuses her of padding her bra with 2 centimeters of padding. The lady in green admits and removes the pads, which Tianu then shows to Lu Shanong. Surprised, Lu Shanong exclaims about Tianu's ability to detect padded chests, admitting defeat. Lu Xianchang hands over 10,000 silvers to Tianu. Chu Tianu, laughing and taking the money, boasts about having X-ray vision, claiming that he can see through padding clearly. Amused and happy, he praises Master Lu for being trustworthy and deserving the title of the #1 playboy. Turning to the auctioneer, Tianu proposes continuing the auction, placing a bid of 6,000 silver. The auctioneer acknowledges the bid and inquires if anyone wishes to raise the amount. Lu Xianchang, realizing he fell for a deception and lost his money, grits his teeth in frustration. The auctioneer proceeds with the bidding at 6,000. Onlookers comment that the twins are once again under Tianu's control. One person advises against provoking him further, considering the prior commotion. The auctioneer announces the bidding at 6,000 going twice. Morang thinks Chu Tianu's days are still numbered despite buying back Ko and Dongyu. Shang Guan finds Chu Tianu interesting. Finally, since there are no higher bids, the auctioneer declares that the twins go to Chu Tianu, smiling. The auctioneer hands over the slave contracts to Tianu. Tianu thanks him and pays for the purchase. Ku and Dongyu embrace Tianu as he suggests heading home, blushing. However, Tianu senses something wrong. In the next moment, Lu Shanong attacks Tianu with accusations of collusion with the woman in green. Tianu skillfully dodges the attack, responding swiftly. Ku and Dongyu kick Lu Xianchang for ambushing their master, sending him flying. Lu Xianchang, injured by the twin maids, catches his breath while his concerned servant checks on him. Pointing at Tianu and his twin maids, Lu Shanong instructs his servants to handle them. The servants agree and rush towards Tianu and his maids to attack. However, Ku and Dongyu quickly counterattack, kicking the servants and sending them flying. The defeated servants fall to the ground in pain. Displeased, Lu Shuanan calls them useless trash, expressing frustration at their inability to handle 2 young girls and questioning their value. Tianu, calmly observing the fight, reflects on the fact that among the youth, the twin maids possess abilities on par with Morang. Dongyu emphatically declares their determination not to allow anyone to harm their master. Tianu accuses Lu Shanong of being a sore loser and questions if he still wants to kill him. Lu Xianchang, pointing his sword, emphasizes that this might be their last chance for a duel, expressing a desire to triumph at least once. Tianu initially declines with a headshake, but Lu Shanong proposes a bet of 5,000 silvers. Tianu, clenching his fist, ultimately accepts the challenge, ready to engage in the confrontation. Ku is concerned that the master lacks martial arts training, emphasizing that Lu Xianchang, although not at a high martial arts stage, is still a skilled cultivator. Dongyu shares the worry, urging the master to avoid impulsive actions. Morang smirks. Tianu, with a smile, confidently claims he can win without a sword and sees it as an opportunity to test his current spirit practitioner great strength. One individual questions why Chu Tianu, who has been dealing with illness since childhood, agreed to a duel. Others criticize him for being arrogant, especially because he refuses to use a sword, implying he might not plan to defend himself. Another person thinks Tianu seems ready to face the consequences. As Lu Xianchang angrily attacks Tianu with a sword, bystanders are confused about why Tianu isn't reacting. Lu Xian launches an attack on Tianu, but Tianu effortlessly dodges, earning remarks from onlookers about his agility, describing him as dodging like a mouse and being completely subdued. The onlookers dismiss Tianu as trash while Lu Xuanan continues his assault. He gives Tianu a chance to surrender and admit defeat, promising to let him off. However, when Lu Xianchang cuts Tianu, blood splatters onto him. Confused, Lu Xianchang asks why Tianu didn't dodge. In shock, Lu Xianchang realizes he knew Tianu couldn't beat him and had intended to spare Tianu if he admitted defeat. Lu Xian had sworn to himself that he just wanted to beat Chu. Tianchu, undefeated by anyone else, uses his illusion skill to create fake figures in front of a terrified Li Xianchang. Shocked, Lu Xianchang accuses Tianchu of trickery and learning a fearsome hypnosis technique. Feeling cheated and upset, Tianchu extends his hand, causing Lu Xianchang to become fearful, holding his head and begging for mercy. Lu Wang admits defeat and pleads with Tianchu not to come closer or harm him. At this moment, Tianchu appears almost devil-like to Lu Xianchang. Onlookers are bewildered by Lu Xianchang's actions. Some question why he abruptly stopped swinging his sword after just a few attempts, another speculates that Chu Tianchu might have a hidden trick or strategy, and a third observer notes the sudden fear in Lu Xianchang, finding the situation peculiar. After the fight, Chu Tianchu exits the auction pavilion,